Okay, how you doing? Okay, this is spiritual experiences I had on a camping trip or cottage trip way up in northern Ontario. Not extremely way up, but Lake Superior. At a place called Como Lake. And here we go. I'll just start telling you the experience. So, I was like 10 years old. It was me, my sister, my brother, my mom and dad, and my uncle and his wife, and 3 of their kids. And it was 2 families going up. They rented some cottages way up north, and we were taking off. So we take off. We leave Chatham at like midnight, and we get to Windsor. We gas up, and we go right through Michigan to the Sault Ste. Marie on the Canadian side. Went over the big bridge, the Mackinac Bridge. Then we started heading north. We went down the Trans-Canada Highway. I believe it's the Trans-Canada Highway east, till we got to the 194 or 197. It's a highway and it heads straight north. And it was a long, boring drive, let me tell you. It's like a long drive, like all day. And there was nothing. Actually, when we got on the highway, there was a sign that said, "Last gas for 300 kilometers. So fuel up now." And I was amazed at that. I was like, whoa, no gas for nothing for 300 miles. You go. My dad was like, nope, there's nothing for 300 miles. So until we get to Chapleau, which is a town, the next town, which is like 300 miles away. So we go right through bush. Like, you go right through bush. And I'll Google it. I'm Googling it as I show you this. So we drive for like, seems hours, like hours and hours. And then there's 2 roads they meet. And then we kept going straight. And we kept going straight. And then I started falling asleep. I was half falling asleep. I was like, laying on the window. And my cousin came too with us. So there was 4 kids in the car. It's crazy. My mom and dad. Anyway, we go through this forest fire. There's a forest fire, and the road was covered with flames were going across the road and sparks. And the forest was on fire to the left, and there was smoke and flames, and I saw the forest on fire. I was like, holy shit. And there was no firefighters. There was nobody. No cars coming or going. And I'm like, wow, that's neat. No, there's no fire, nothing. There's nobody. And the road's on fire and everything. I was like, we're driving through it, and I'm like, wow. I didn't have a camera. I was 10 years old. Yeah, I would have got out and started taking pictures. Anyway, that was really cool. And then we keep driving. And my uncle, we both had station wagons, my Chevy station wagons. And it was in the 80s, so you know which ones. Anyway, my uncle was a quarter mile in front of us, and we were behind him, and we were on a straight stretch, and there's bush on either side of the road, like really close. And I'm laying there, I got my eyes closed, I'm just laying there, and the car is going. You know how you go asleep to the engine? Well, I'm half asleep. Also, my dad goes, "What the fuck is that crazy bastard doing?" And then I wake up and I look out the window between my mom and my dad. I look out the window, and their car is sideways on the highway. The rear end is on the side of the road, and hit the dirt on the side of the road. It's a 2-lane highway, and hit the dirt and made a big giant dust up. And he parked. And all of a sudden, his door opens up, and you see him run across the road into the bush. And we're like, wow, what happened? He goes, I don't know, he just spun off the road. And he ran into the bush, my uncle. And then all the other people, my cousins and my aunt, they get out of the car, and they're all standing around the car, and we pull up beside them or behind them, and we all get out of the car. So we're all standing in the middle of nowhere on this road, and so we go over and talk to my aunt. My dad's like, "What happened? What's going on?" She's like, "I don't know. He just hit the brakes, spun off the side of the road, like spun on the side of the road, and we all woke up and he was out the door running. They were all sleeping in the car, and so we're waiting for him to come back, and my dad's thinking he's gonna go in there and see what's going on, right? So we're just standing there, and all of a sudden he comes walking out of the bush. I think this is a bush. I mean, there's nothing for hundreds of kilometers. Nothing, absolutely nothing. For 100 kilometers that way and 100 kilometers either way, hundreds. And so he comes walking out of the bush, and he comes walking up, and everybody's looking at him like, "Yeah?" And he goes, "You wouldn't believe me, but I almost hit a Sasquatch." He goes, "The fucker ran right out in front of me. I almost clipped him, and he took off into the bush, and then I hit the brakes and I ran in there after him." And he goes, "I couldn't believe it." And my mom's like, and I'm like, "Oh wow!" So I get ready, I'm running, and I get to the other side of the road, and my mom goes, "Get your fucking ass back here! You ain't going in no bush looking for no Sasquatch." I'm like, "Come on, let's go look at the Sasquatch," you know. And that was that. She got me back, and my mom goes, "You didn't see, that was a bear you saw." He goes, "You know what? I shot a lot of bears." He's a hunter. He goes, "I shot a lot of bears, and I know they walk upright once in a while." But he goes, "That was a goddamn bear. It looked right at me." Arms, and it was running, and it ran right into the bush, right across the road. And I'm like, my jaw is on the ground, my spirit's just going crazy. I'm like, "Oh my God, Sasquatches, forest fires!" Oh, I've never been. This is my first time way up north in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, "Holy shit, Sasquatch!" And so we all get back in the cars and we start trucking, and I'm sitting in the window and I'm just staring at the side of the road. I'm looking everywhere for like 4 hours of nothing but just bush on the side of the road, and I'm like looking, I'm looking, and finally I just fall asleep. But I was so jealous. I was jealous of my uncle. I wanted to see that goddamn Sasquatch so bad. I wanted to see the Sasquatch really bad, really bad. And I'd seen them on, like, In Search of and that at that time. And I didn't even know they existed in Canada. I always thought it was in some exotic place like Nepal, or, you know, or in the mountains in the West Coast. Because I remember I saw the Patty video. That blew me away. Anyway, so we get to Chapleau. Oh no, actually, we stopped along the side of the road a little while later, a couple hours later, and went out and walked around, go to the bathroom, just because we needed a stretch because we were going nuts. And I ran down to a creek, and this might mean something later in another video. So I ran down to this creek, and I was playing in the creek, looking for fishes and bugs and things. And then Mom calls, "Let's go!" And I'm like, sad, because I just got started, right? I wanted to sit in this creek and look for trout, and, you know, it's fun, man. Anyway, so we get back in the car and we're going. We get to Chapleau, then we gotta drive. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how much further we gotta go? He goes, "Oh, a couple more hours." So we're driving. If you look on the map, I'll Google it, and we go up. Then we get to and I'm in the trains too. So we get to where you turn off the main highway, and you start heading down a dirt road to the cabins, and there's a railway that runs right alongside where you cross in, and it's a via line, CN via, and it's way up north. And I looked down the railway tracks as we crossed. We got out and we took a look around, and there was like swamp and forest, like boreal forest. Far as the eye can see, this train railway going right into it. And I was like, wow, how cool is that? And then I loved it, man. I just wanted to walk the railway, through the lakes and forest, see what was there, see what I could see. But I didn't. There's no way in hell my mother would let me do that. Anyway, so we're driving down this dirt road. We finally get to the camp, and the camp was there's a big parking lot alongside the road. Then there was a house on half in the water and half out. And it was on a pier, built on a pier, so it was out on the water. And there was 4 little cabins, and that's it. It's changed a lot now. There's like a bunch of piers, like I'll show you on the Facebook page. So anyway, I'm like, wow. So I ran up to the lake, and we're at the lake, and I'm looking, and on the other side of the lake, which isn't that far, it's just forest, far as the eye can see, and I'm like, Sasquatch. Sasquatch. And then the old man, he comes waddling out of his house. He was really old. I think he got new owners now. And he comes waddling out of the house and welcomes us and everything. He goes, okay, you kids, come here. This old man, right? He goes, oh, you kids, come here. We go, yeah. And he goes, you don't walk around alone. You don't go into the bush. And he goes, all right. You don't go into the bush alone. And you don't go walking around alone. He goes, there's cougars, there's bears, and there's a lot of things you can get in trouble and hurt yourself, and we'll have a hell of a time trying to find you. So you don't go in the bush alone. And we're like, okay. And he goes, and then he gave us some other rules about stuff. And then he goes, if you go walking down that dirt road, if you keep walking down the dirt road, there's an old, I forgot what he said it was, like a factory. There's an old factory there where they used to chop wood, or because they were logging back. Actually, the road we were on was an old rail line, and they used to load up logs on the train, and the train would take the wood out. But it's abandoned now. And he goes, there's an old abandoned. There used to be a building there, but it's all gone now. And he goes, there's a well, and he goes, there's wood over top of it. And he goes, don't go walking around. Be careful if you go walking around the old abandoned thing, because you could fall in the well, and it's like 100 feet deep. And he goes, if you fall in there, we're going to have a hell of a time getting you. He didn't want to say you're going to die. He left that up to our parents. If you fall in there, you're going to die. So basically, that's what he told us. He goes, so be careful. Don't even go there. You can go anywhere else, but don't go there. And he goes, there's a dump. There's a garbage dump about a quarter mile up the road on this side of the road. And he goes, you'll smell it. And he goes, don't go in there. It's full of black bears. Full of black bears. Don't go messing around the dump without your parents. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, and so, yeah, there was like moose, deer, bears, cougars, wolves. He goes, hear any wolves howling, don't be afraid, they won't come around. And stuff like that. And I wanted to go, see any squatches? Any Sasquatches? Any Bigfoot? And I didn't say nothing the whole time. I kept it to myself. But I wanted to. Oh man, I wanted to. Anyway, so that was our first day getting there. So we get there, then the second day, and it's full of black flies. Black flies like crazy. Not mosquitoes, black flies in the day. And so I'm out there, and we're playing, and we're swimming in the water, and the water's really cold. And it's deep. And I think we go fishing. We go fishing and stuff. And go for a walk. I think that was it. Then the next night. Oh yeah, and as we were driving into that night, But we were driving in on the radio, it said that an American guy stopped at a gas station in Wawa, which is about another 100 kilometers that way, and to the west, right on Lake Superior, more or less. If you look, it's called Wawa, Ontario. If you Google it, you'll see it. It has a big goose. Anyway, nice drive. If you ever get up there, go to the Wawa. It's a nice drive up there. And so we were. This guy couldn't get into the bathroom in the gas station, or someone was in there and he couldn't wait, so he went in the bush. And I guess he went too far into the bush and he got lost. So there was a big search party getting ready to go look for him and everything. And that was that. That was a report as we were coming in. Then later that night, we heard it on the radio again. They're still looking for him. So the next day, I don't know if it was the next day, one of the nights, we went to sleep. And I'm going to cut it here because it's a long story. Well, I'll tell you a couple of short ones first. So we went down to me and my brother went for a walk down to the old factory, the lumber mill factory, I think it was. And we were walking around there, and it's just rock over, there's some growth and everything. We couldn't ever find the building. We didn't even know where the building was, the camp building. But we found like old artifacts and rusted things, hunks of metal and stuff. And we're going, I wonder where the well is. I wonder where the well is. And we're walking along, and then we see some boards laying on the ground, like white boards. And they're old. And my brother, being the jerk he is, he goes, hey man, I wonder if that's the well over there. So he runs up. He runs up to the well, up to the boards, and he jumps in the air and he comes down on the boards. He jumps in the air and he smashes. The boards break. And he goes, oh! He caught himself. He stuck his arms out and caught himself from falling in the well. I'm like, holy. And he's like, ow! So I run over there and I grab him by the arm and I pull him out. And he's like, oh my fucking God. He's like, oh my God, oh my God. And so we're standing there, we're looking, I go, you almost fell in the well. He's like, I know. He goes, hold on, I can't breathe. And so after a couple of minutes, he almost had a near-death experience there. We got some rocks. And we got down on our hands and knees and we listened. We put our heads near the well and we dropped some rocks in. And then all you hear is click, 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 click. Doosh. My brother went, oh. You should see his face when he heard it, because it was like a minute drop, man. All you hear is click, 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 click. Doosh. He almost passed out. I go, you would have been fucking killed, man. And he's like, yup. He's like, good, let's get the hell out of here. And so I go, well, we gotta cover it up. He goes, with what? So we got some logs and we laid it on top as best we could. But they were better than what they had. So the next kids that come along decide to fall in there. Or animals. Holy shit. To all the people out there who build wells and then fucking pack your shit and leave, you might want to seal them up. Just a thought. You might want to dump some rock in there, seal them up, fill it back up full of stuff, so animals and dogs and cats and people and kids don't fall in the fucking well. Unbelievable. Anyway, all right. So I'm gonna end it there with that one. Oh, I got 7 minutes left. So another time, I got up really early in the morning, and no one was up yet, and I was sitting by the lake getting smacked but the black flies are just chewing on me. When a black fly bites you, it It when a black fly bites you, it leaves a red dot. When a black fly bites you, it leaves a red dot on your skin. And I was covered in red dots. My whole face, my neck, everything. So anyway, I'm getting beaten down by black flies. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go for a walk down the road. And the sun was just coming up. So it had that. Anyway, I walked down the road, and I came to the swamp, and it was on the right-hand side of me. And the swamp was really neat because it was like mystical, right? And I'd been there earlier, but I decided to go there again. So I'm looking, I come to the swamp, and it's trees, swamp. Well, it ain't a swamp, it's a lake filled with old stag trees. Old trees, and they're all white. So you like them white trees sticking out, and they're all old. And there's like lilies and cattails, stuff like that. And it was beautiful. Far as the eye could see, just stags sticking out. And I'm like, squatches. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna see a squatch, right? And then you had the smoke on the water, you know, the mist on the water, the smoke, and it's the stags are sticking out of the mist, and it's moving across the water and everything. And so I got down. What we had us kids is you take 2 rocks and you clink them in the water, under the water, at a river or a lake, a small lake or something like that, and you hit them together, and turtles and otters and anything in the water hears it, it'll come up to you to see what it's about, even snakes, right? So I was going to go down, so I climbed down the side of the road a little bit. There's like a little, and I get right down to the water, and I get 2 big rocks, and I'm getting ready to call them the turtles, because I want to see some snapping turtles and things. And I'm clinking, I get ready to clink, and just as I bend down, I see something moving, like under the water there. And I'm like, what's that? So I backed up a little bit. I thought it was like a beaver, you know? Like it was brown, it was big, and it was like, I'm like, the fuck is that, a turtle? And it was still early in the morning, you know, and I didn't think it was like 10 feet right here, okay? I thought it was like a foot deep. And I'm just going to call some otters or turtles or stuff. And all of a sudden, you ain't going to believe this. All of a sudden the water, and all of a sudden these things start sticking up out of the water like tree branches. Like tree branches are coming up out of the water. And I'm like, I am like 5 feet, 10, maybe 5 to 10 feet away. Not even that, like 5 feet, 6, 7. And it's like right there. Like I almost reach out and touch it. And also like it comes up, and it's antlers to a moose. They rise up way up high, and then all of a sudden the moose comes up, and the moose head comes up, and it's covered in that green slimy shit. Green slime, you know, seaweed stuff. And the moose comes up, and he's got a mouthful of greens, and he's just like a cow, right? And he's looking right at me, and this moose muzzle right here, right in my face. If I had a 50mm camera, I couldn't focus it. And I'm like, I'm stone cold, right? I'm like, is this thing gonna kill me? And he just sat there, and I stood up. Like I stood up as the antlers came up. I'm like, what the hell's going on? This thing came up, and its head was just above the water, and down to his neck where his body started, and he was standing, okay? And its neck was there, and it was just coming up, and there's all this steam coming off the antlers, like the early morning steam coming off the antlers, and it's just going crunch, crunch, and I didn't move. I was like, oh. It was beautiful, though. Oh, my God, it was beautiful. It just blew me away. And then it turned around, it realized I was somebody or smelled me or something, and then it turned around real fast, it started through the water, and then it came up on this far side and left into the bush. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, all I thought was, camera, give me a camera. I gotta get a camera. And that blew me away, man. I was like, I couldn't even move. But at the same time, it was just like something you never get to see, you know. And I'm 10 years old, and here I am standing face to face with a moose. This thing could have stomped the shit, stomped me into a mud puddle, right? But it didn't. It was just like a big cow eating the greens, and it looked at me and realized I was looking at it, then turned around and left. But I don't know, the mist coming off its antlers and everything, and all the stuff hanging, and I couldn't believe how deep it was, because I know how tall a moose is. And I'm looking down in the water. I'm like, God damn, that's deep. And and it was silent. When I got there, there was no ripples on the water. So I'm like, how long was this thing down there eating, right? When I got there, that blew me away. So yeah, that was a good experience. That one really freaked me out. It wasn't a Sasquatch, but it was damn close. That was a big ass moose, and the antlers on it. So that's the first couple experiences.